As you know from our deployment in November, you received a number of email communications, and we also took down your system for a day or two to make the updates. We've added some new features and functionality to your collection management system as part of your service. Today, we're going to demonstrate how these features work and how they might help your current workflow or how they might be helpful to you in the future. So as you all know, we have a lot of different organizations that utilize our system, but all of you use it in very different ways. Some of you use the system every day as part of your normal workflow, as in, you can't get anything done unless you're on the collection management system. And some of you, go in a few times a year and make all the updates that you need to make. So hopefully this is helpful for everybody, but we do understand that sometimes you just need to send us an email and have us walk things through, and we're always here for that. On that note, before we get started, we just wanted to remind you about our support center page that is available to you 24/7. This is where we load all those screenshots, video tutorials, release notes, and very extensive collection management system manuals that you can access to refresh your system knowledge and gain some new ideas on how you might leverage your system further. Allison has been hard at work creating short YouTube videos on the processes we get asked about the most. So don't hesitate to utilize these resources available on this page and reach out to us to request certain processes that you would like to see outlined here. The link to the support center will be in the chat, so make sure to copy it and save it to your bookmark so you can access it at any time. I also just wanted to let you know that we have been adding some of our more public presentations to our YouTube library. So these are presentations that we've been giving at conferences that are really helpful for thinking through how you're adding context to your records and thinking about how the public might engage with your public art collection using the Public Art Archive. So feel free to access those as well. So without further ado, Allison is going to begin the demonstration of some of the new features. Please type in some questions you have in the chat. We'll get to them towards the end so we don't interrupt the flow. But thanks again for joining us today.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lori. I thought we could start with the maker-supplied identity group of fields, which is now available on all of your person authority records. So just to start with a little bit of background on this, over the past couple years, we've heard a lot of feedback from our users that they need tools to measure demographics of the artists in their collection, but also other contributors that are involved in making their artworks. So fabricators, designers, etc., in order to start to analyze questions about equity in their collections. So collecting this kind of data can help you begin to answer questions like, who is making the art in this collection? And are they approaching art making from different cultural backgrounds and identities? How many local artists and workers are we giving jobs through our program? And do the artists and the people involved in the creation of our city's public art collection reflect the actual residents of our city, for example? So to collect this data, you can survey artists and other individuals during the contracting process or retroactively for existing works using the maker-supplied identity fields as a guide. Just to note that it's important that it's clear that all identity information sharing is voluntary and that all of this identity data should come directly from the artist or person themselves because we never want to assign identity information to anyone. So you can add person records from the Create New screen under Authorities, but for this demo, I'm going to open up a sample record with some information already filled out. So we have our basic info and contact info, and then below that are maker-supplied identity fields. The dropdowns here have been supplied with some commonly used terminology. However, we do know that they are not exhaustive. So we expect that you'll find through your process that you'll need to add to and edit these lists, which I can show you how to do in just a second. As you're filling out these fields, you'll notice the use restriction field next to the supplied answer. Here you can record whether the person placed any restriction on your organization's use of this piece of data. So for example, it may be that they've given permission for this info to be used for analyzing metrics about the collection, but they don't want these details shared publicly in association with their name. There's also a checkbox on the left-hand side if the person chose not to answer any of these questions. So if you're looking at a list and it's missing a term that you need, you can add these new terms via your tools menu. So I'll click over to that. And it opens up here in the first tab on your terms list. We're looking for supplied identity. So I'm going to go to the second page where we have supplied ethnicity, gender, pronoun, race, and sexuality. These are all the lists that you can customize. Just click into any of the lists, hit the plus sign to add a new term, and you can reorder the list using these arrows on the left-hand side and hit save. And now I'll see when I go back to my person record and open up that dropdown, my new term is now available. One more note here, no information included in the maker supplied identity fields is viewable on the front end of the Public Art Archive. All this information is internal facing for your organization, and we hope that having this data and leveraging it in your reports can help you accurately illustrate the level of representation in your collection and also provide that tangible tool for adapting practices if that's called for, or addressing any gaps in representation that you uncover through this process. So moving on, we can head over to the object record and talk about the artwork tag field. In this field, you can apply thematic concepts very similar to subject headings in a library catalog for each of your artworks. So I'm going to pull up a sample record and we'll see that the artwork tag field is right here below the artwork description. This field isn't currently available on the front end of PAA, but once some time has passed, giving you all time to familiarize yourselves and start applying terms to artworks in your collection, we do plan to begin the process of implementing this on our front end so that our users can search and filter by these subject terms. We're really excited about this because this will give much greater ability to search by topic and theme, because this is much more accurate and powerful than just searching by keyword. So this field, like materials and work types in your CMS, operates as an authority field, meaning the field uses predictive text to suggest terms from a pre-populated list of curated preferred concepts. So if the term you're looking for is already in your system, when you begin typing, preferred terms will appear for you to select from. However, if you want to add a term that's not available, you can add terms on the fly. So let's say I wanted to add political demonstrations to my list. I can type it in, see that there's no matching terms found, and I can use this plus associated concepts button to add this to my list as I'm working. Just a note here, we do suggest adding terms sparingly, and if you do so, use a thesaurus like Getty's Art and Architecture Thesaurus or the Library of Congress subject headings, just to ensure your terms have a consistent language. And we also recommend judiciously adding new terms, as we know, just having too many terms can end up having an adverse effect on organization and searchability when the list gets too long. If you want to view the entire list of curated terms in your system, you can use the top navigation, scroll down to authority items and click concepts. Make sure associated is chosen from the second dropdown and hit enter. And then you'll see your entire list of concepts and browse through it. We do want to take a moment here to extend a huge thank you to the team at Mural Arts Philadelphia, who has been doing this type of concept work for the past few years. And they helped us create this first iteration of this concept list. So their work has benefited our whole community of users, and we're very grateful for that. So huge thank you to them. Okay, next we can move on to the group record, where there is new checklist functionality to help with project management and archiving. So I'm going to open up a sample group. You can use this function for projects of any scope, anything from the entire commissioning workflow, which is what we've started to do with this sample here, or something much more specific, like a signage audit of a particular building, or planning a rotation of some of your portable works, any type of project. So in this record, we have our basic info, and below that is the new functionality, the checklist information. So this is where I can add detail for each phase or milestone of my project. Your system, again, is pre-populated with a few checklist type terms, but these can, again, be customized in your tools menu, just like we showed you with Maker Supplied Identity. So for this example, we have some project phases planned out for call to artists, the selection process, and design development. If I need to remind myself about a task related to any of these stages, I can add in items. So we want to archive our meeting notes. You can assign team members and update the status as things are assigned and completed. And you can keep making notes to this record as the project continues and moves into different phases, and note completed tasks as they get done. Additionally, if I have any documents or other resources that I want to save pertaining to this project, just like any other procedural record in your CMS, you can add related digital assets to the group by clicking on the Plus Related tab and scrolling down to Media Handling. And from here, you can upload or link to any of the files you want to save. As you can see, we have the call to artists saved here, and as our project progresses, we can add other documents about the selection process, our meeting notes, any site plans, etc., anything we might want to have organized on hand and archived. So then this group, we can relate to an acquisition or object record as the artwork is created and installed. You'll see on the right-hand navigation, I don't have any objects related to this group right now because we're still in the pre-planning phases. But once it's created, I can relate this group to the object, and then I'll have access to this entire history from the object record. So there are lots of ways you can use this function, but we hope it helps your teams with organizational tasks like this, communication, and of course, archiving of all those documents and assets that pertain to a project. With the benefit of those being available via your CMS wherever you have an internet connection. So if you're at home or you are on site or go to a studio visit and need to look something up, any documents you save in this group will be available to you. Okay, one last thing for me. In the media handling record, we now have an alt text field. So let me open up an image. As I'm sure many of you know, but just to refresh, alt text or alternative text describes an image on a page. Alt text helps people with visual impairments understand what an image depicts, but it also helps search engines understand image contents. And this is the text that appears on a page if an image fails to load for any reason. So it's a really important accessibility feature. And now you can add these descriptions to any media record via the alt text field at the bottom of each record. Currently on our public engagement site, we do have alt text that pulls from the title information of a media record. And when you add text in the alt field, this will supersede this default info. But we wanted to mention that there is existing alt text on PAA's front end, so you don't need to worry about rushing to add alt text to all of your images. We do have those accessibility measures in place currently. So that's it for me. The CMS upgrade in November also included a number of updates to our reports. So I'm going to pass the share over to Lori so she can show you all that new functionality.
Great. Thanks, Allison. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Great. Okay, thanks everybody. And thanks Allison for taking us through those new features. I know some of you have been looking for features like those for a while, and some may be like, those are great, but I don't see myself using those anytime soon. As most of you know, we're building the collection management system, not just for the static management of public art objects, but to really centralize your project workflow into this system, which is why we are trying to deploy features that affect the everyday user and then the once in a while type of user. Should you ever want new features or have ideas for new features, we are just an email away. We are building these based on community feedback. So don't hesitate to reach out to us or try and figure out a workflow that may work for what you're looking for. So as Allison mentioned, I'm going to go through exporting and reporting features. As many of you know, there are two ways to get data out of your system. One is doing a quick and dirty export search results type of export. This method comes out in CSV format, and you can pick particular fields you want to get out of the system. The other type is a set of customized and curated reports that come out of your tools menu. I'm going to go ahead and show you both today very quickly. And then, of course, we have YouTube videos that help with this, and we can provide more information on this based on people's questions. So one of the most commonly asked questions and common processes that people are working on are, they're like, I want a very quick report of a list of objects that are in City Hall, for instance. How do I get that? So of course we can show you how to use the reports, but another way to do that is to go to your search item, your search bar here. Make sure that your objects are selected. You can search all types of records here. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a field called computed current location. Now, if you're doing the same thing and you don't see computed current location here at the bottom, you can always add fields as needed. So you can kind of customize your search screen, which is pretty cool. You can also remove items that you don't really care to search by to make more room on your screen. But I'm going to test out a search for artworks in City Hall. And here I am. I'm not in Chattanooga, but this is a set of test records we used for today. And as you can see here, I have 6 records that come up as located in City Hall. And as I mentioned, I maybe am doing a quick inventory. I'm sending this list out for a group of volunteers to just go check and make sure these artworks are in City Hall as they're listed. So I've selected these records here. And to create a list, I can just type in the fields that I want to include in this report. So I'm going to decide to include title, a description, because maybe I have a lot of artworks named untitled, and I need a descriptor to help me, decide which one is untitled 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to add work type because some are paintings, some are prints, and I just like a little more distinction between them. And I'm going to export that, and that is going to export directly to my local computer. Now, I've already brought this list up here, and as you can see, the data that I've asked the system to output is here, and CSV can be converted into a Excel document or Google Sheets, whatever your system uses, and you can edit and do what you want from there. In terms of other things that you may be able to do from the search results, is you will see on your right sidebar, I've already got the records selected here. We have also added some available reports directly to your right sidebar here, which I'm sort of circling and highlighting, so that you are able to access some commonly used reports right from your right sidebar without having to go to your tools menu. These, again, anything that falls under reports or in your tools menu reports are customized outputs that are commonly used in public art exports. So rather than selecting particular fields you want to export, these have already predefined export columns. So let's say, for instance, I am handing this list off, but I want a thumbnail included. So we do have a new report with a thumbnail image, which is called the basic object with current location. I'm going to run this as a PDF for this example here. As you can see, you have a little bit of flexibility how you want to run these reports. And I'm going to click run, and it may just take a second since we're on Zoom. And as you can see, I have a nice little report that also has a thumbnail image involved if it has a thumbnail image attached to it. One other example that I wanted to show you has to do with the maker supplied identity that Allison demonstrated today. As I mentioned, these search results and these exports can work on any record type. So let's say I've done a lot of work on my person's record and I am ready to run a report on sort of what this equity analysis looks like. I'm going to pull up my person's records and press search. And I want to export, for instance, any data related to gender, ethnicity, race. I can click export, and again, I can get those details out of my system on the fly. So as we sort of see how people are using these, we will build in more customized reports that have this availability, but you can always get data out of your system as you need it relating to a particular record type. So now I'm going to show the other way to get data out of your system, which is right through our Reports tab in our Tools menu. Here, Allison showed you Tools List. You're going to just navigate over to Reports. For those of you who have been with us kind of a long time, you'll see that we have a lot more reports than we had at the beginning. Currently, you have 48 reports available. Hopefully, by the beginning of the new year, you will have an even 50 reports available. We are tweaking some of our reports that have images in them and hope to deploy those at the beginning of the year. But for now, what you can do is take a look at the reports that you have available. Again, these are customized outputs, so you cannot change the column names. Everything will export out as is. But what you can do is export things out as a Excel spreadsheet or a CSV and do the editing and format as you need it. One report I wanted to just demonstrate is the condition report. We know a lot of you are doing condition checks on your records, maybe escalating some for conservation. So I'm going to just click the condition report here. I'm going to click run. And for this, there might be one particular object that I want to export the information on. As you can see, I can run a lot of these reports on all records, record lists, single records. You have a little bit of flexibility there, so you don't have to clean up or edit or look at, long exhausted lists when you just really need one particular record. And again, I'm going to run in PDF format because that's the best way to demonstrate what happens on the screen. And I am going to click run. And as I zoom in, you will see that I've got a nice list of all the information that came out on my condition check record. And most excitingly, as I go over to the right, you will see that I have both an object thumbnail, so that is the actual image that goes with the artwork, and I have a condition check thumbnail. You can't see in this demo, but I sort of pretended that this particular image was showing some damage and fray to one of the sides of the artwork. And that was attached to my condition check record for this artwork. So for those of you who are taking pictures of the condition of artworks at the site, you can get reports that show both how the image is supposed to look and how it currently looks through this type of reporting. So we're really excited about that. Just quickly, for those of you who have been adding a lot of data to your place records, perhaps you're adding district numbers or neighborhoods, or any outdoor and indoor tagging. The full object with place details is going to give you a lot of that information and is a great and powerful tool to get a ton of data out without having to do much work on your end. Again, there are a lot of opportunities here to play around with the reports and find exactly what you're looking for. Should you want to see what's more available on our collection management system help center, we have created a reports templates tab that you can open and take a look at all the output fields. You can also email us about what report might work best for your needs. We do a lot of report editing for people, especially with thumbnails. So we're happy to do that as you need it. Just send us an email. We do get them turned around very fast. Our idea in the future is that we add all the export fields to your report descriptions, but we are going to wait to do that until we get some of the fixes done with our reporting that we plan to deploy at the beginning of the year, once those are fixed. So the last thing that we wanted to do, and we know a lot of you are super users, but for those of you who might need a quick refresher or just want to watch what we're doing for a second, we just wanted to take about 2 minutes to show a refresher on a refresher on relating records, creating a public art record, and how that looks on the Public Art Archive. So here you'll see an object record that I've begun. Obviously, a lot of the object data is pretty self-explanatory. You can fill all that information out. Sometimes the details are somewhat static, except perhaps the artwork description field, and you might be adding new tags. Things that aren't static might be things like the location and the media that you're attaching to it. So we just wanted to remind you that to add a location to an artwork record, you are just going to click your plus related tab, go to your location, create a new location, and type in whatever that location is. I like to put in the date information because I think it's important to remember when particular artworks were put at that particular location in case they move around, and click save. When I go back to my object record and I refresh my screen, my computed current location will then be complete. I follow the same process when I'm adding media items. I go to plus related, add media, create new. I might be uploading an image from my computer, which we will say is this one. I can add in information, alt text as Allison described. For now, I'm just going to do something very simple. I'm going to make sure it's set to publish because I want it to show up on the front end of the Public Art Archive. And there I see my image as it was supposed to appear. So now I have a completed record, and a lot of you ask the question, which is a great question, how do I make sure that I can confirm that only public information is getting shared on the Public Art Archive? Because a lot of people write in the comment field. They might write notes to self about distinguishing features. There may be notes in the production about fabricators, engineers that are internal facing only. The great way to double check that what's what fields you're using on your back end record are the ones appearing on your front end, are to toggle between your standard template and your tombstone template, which now exactly reflects the front end of the public art archive. So all the data fields here will match exactly what you see on your artwork record on the public art archive. So if you ever need to verify that you're doing things correctly, or you want to double check that, that's a great way to do that. Okay, so before we close and answer any questions, we just wanted to talk through our roadmap. One of our goals this year is to be much more transparent about what's coming next, especially since we did a major deployment with some new features, what we want to work on and clean up and improve in your system right away. For the collection management system, the backend, as we call it, we've noted that we will be deploying some report fixes, namely to the reports with thumbnails. We have a little bit of cleanup work to do, and we hope to deploy those at the beginning of 2024. Many of you have let us know that our forgot password link isn't working as expected. We have fixed that. We are going to wait to deploy that fix until we deploy the report so that we can do that all at once. And we have received a request from some clients about adding terms to, for instance, the deaccession reason terms list. So for those of you who are experiencing a lot of deaccessions and need a little more customization on the reason behind it for your archival work, you'll see some changes coming. Should you have other requests, please email us. We are designing only for our clients. So, let us know what's a pain point. Let us know what you hope to see added in the future, and we'll get to work. For a public engagement portal, our front end, we are finalizing an enhancement on image sizing. We plan to integrate the artwork tags or the subject headings as filters after we reach some sort of mass of our users adding those terms in. We will be integrating the alt text for media as our clients begin to add that information. And we will be doing more map improvements because we're always working on those maps. And just as a reminder, we are just an email away. When you email us, it's just myself and Allison. So you don't have to worry. We know who you all are. We're happy to work with you. If you have new people, interns, new staffers, you can give them our email and, e-introduce us or not, just send them to us and we can get them trained. We provide a lot more support than just sort of like help with your system. So just let us know what you're looking for and we're happy to help. If any of these new features today are exciting and you're like, this seems great, but I don't know how I'm going to get this done one by one, let us know and we can help you come up with a game plan. We can do batch updates and batch cleanups as needed. That might be able to sort of offload some of the work from you, and we can use some of our tools to help with that. So that is the end of our webinar. We're happy to answer questions. You can feel free to either use the chat or unmute yourself and just let us know. Or you can feel free to email us at any time and let us know if you're not interested in, doing it in front of everybody. But we appreciate you all joining us today. And we'll stay on for a few minutes, just in case.